Hey, you men who think you're fine, but when night comes you can't sleep. Trevor Phillips here. Yeah, it's me. Don't panic. Don't try to be cool. Don't pretend you clicked this by accident. You didn't. You found this because the day keeps you busy, and the night makes you honest. I'm driving again. Same city, same neon, same exhausted streets pretending they're alive. Los Santos at night is like a drunk guy smiling through broken teeth, bright on the outside, rotten underneath. Kinda like you, right? Don't get offended. If you're offended, it means I hit something real. Tonight I'm talking about failed men and broken dreams. Not the kind you post about with a sad caption and a gym selfie. I mean the kind of failure that doesn't look like failure from the outside. The kind where you still show up, still pay bills, still laugh at the right moments, while something inside you keeps slipping deeper into the dark like a coin down a drain. You ever notice how men don't fall apart the way everyone expects? They don't cry in public. They don't collapse dramatically. They just get quieter, heavier, like a car with a bad engine mount still moving, but shaking itself to death. That's what most of you are doing. Shaking yourself to death, and you call it being a man. Let's start with the word you hate but live by. Dreams. When you were younger, you had them. Big ones, loud ones, the kind that made your chest feel too small. You wanted to build something, become someone, prove something. Maybe you wanted money, respect, freedom. Maybe you wanted to be unstoppable. Maybe you just wanted your father to look at you once and say, "Good job." Then life happened. Not in one big disaster, mostly in 1,000 small compromises. A job you took temporarily. A relationship you stayed in, for now. A promise you broke just this once. A risk you didn't take because you were being responsible. And it didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like adulthood. That's how it gets you. You don't lose your dream in a fire. You trade it away in pieces. One safe decision at a time. Now you're older, and the dream isn't dead. It's worse than dead. It's alive, but it's trapped. Like an animal in a cage, pacing, scratching, making noise at 3 in the morning. That's why you can't sleep, because your dream didn't disappear. It's standing in the corner of your mind with its arms crossed, looking at you like you're a liar, and you don't know what to do with that, because nobody taught you how to grieve a life you didn't live. They taught you how to work, how to provide, how to man up. They taught you how to swallow your anger and call it maturity. They taught you how to keep the machine running, but nobody taught you what to do when the machine is running in the wrong direction. So you keep going, you keep driving, you keep pretending, and every year you get a little more tired and a little more bitter, and you don't understand why. I'll tell you why. Because you've been living like you're waiting for permission. You're waiting for the perfect moment to start over. Waiting for the money to be right. Waiting for your confidence to arrive like a package. Waiting for someone to finally notice you're drowning and throw you a rope. You want to hear a truth that tastes like metal? Nobody is coming. Not because you don't deserve help, but because the world is busy. Everyone's fighting their own war. And even the people who love you, they love the version of you that keeps functioning. They love the version of you that doesn't need too much. So you become smaller, easier, more convenient. That's how good men fail. Not because they're evil, not because they're lazy, because they're trained to be useful. Useful men get used. You ever look around and feel like everybody else is living while you're just maintaining? Like you're the guy who holds everything together and the only reward is more stuff to hold? That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. And it starts with the same lie most of you swallowed early. If I'm a good man, life will treat me fairly. No, life doesn't care if you're good. Life cares if you can adapt. Life cares if you can take a hit and still choose a direction. Life cares if you have standards, boundaries, a spine. A lot of you don't. Not anymore. You had a spine once. Then you gave it away slowly, one apology at a time. You apologize for wanting things. You apologize for being tired. You apologize for saying no. You apologize for having feelings because you don't want to be dramatic. And the funny part is, you think that makes you noble. It doesn't. It makes you invisible. And invisible men have a special kind of suffering. They don't get hated enough to be feared, and they don't get loved enough to be held. They just exist, like background noise. Now let's talk about failure, real failure, not the motivational kind. Real failure is when you start lying to yourself to protect your comfort. You tell yourself the job is fine. You tell yourself the marriage is fine. You tell yourself your friends are busy. You tell yourself you're just tired. But the truth is, you're not tired. You're empty. And emptiness isn't solved with sleep. It's solved with meaning. And meaning costs something. Meaning costs comfort. Meaning costs the approval of people who liked you better when you were easy. That's why most men never fix it. Because fixing it means conflict. And you hate conflict. You'll do anything to avoid it. You'll sacrifice your dream, your health, your self-respect just to keep the room calm. You've been trained to believe that calm is peace. It isn't. Sometimes calm is just fear with good manners. You know what broken dreams turn into if you ignore them long enough? They turn into resentment. And resentment turns into two things: rage or numbness. Rage is when you snap at the people closest to you over small stuff because you can't admit what you're really mad about. You're not mad about the dirty dishes. You're mad that you're living someone else's life. Numbness is worse. Numbness is when you stop snapping because you stop caring. You stop caring about sex, about success, about friendship, about anything that used to make you feel alive. You become a man who has everything and feels nothing. That's a failed man. Not poor, not single, not unemployed. A man who doesn't feel alive. And here's the cruelest part. The world will still applaud you if you look stable, if you look responsible. If you keep showing up, they'll call you a good man while you quietly disappear. So what do we do with that? We don't do fake positivity. We don't do just be grateful. Gratitude is great, but it won't save you from a life you hate. We do something harder. We tell the truth. Not to everyone, most people don't deserve it. Not yet. To yourself first. So here's your first truth test. Right now, while I'm driving and you're listening, what dream did you bury because it wasn't convenient? Don't give me a pretty answer. Don't give me a life happens answer. Give me the real one. The one that makes your throat tight. Because that's the dream that's keeping you awake. And if you don't face it, it won't go away. It'll just keep haunting you, quietly, until one day you wake up and realize you've been living on autopilot for a decade. That's what this is, by the way. This isn't therapy. This is a wake-up call from a man you never take advice from in real life. Which is exactly why it works. Because I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to be honest. And the honest truth is this. A broken dream doesn't make you a loser. But pretending you don't care does. So in the next part, I'm going to talk about the biggest lie failed men tell themselves: it's too late. And I'm going to show you why too late is usually just fear with a calendar. You know the most common sentence I hear from men who feel like they failed? It's too late. Too late to start over. Too late to change careers. Too late to fix the marriage. Too late to become the man you wanted to be. Too late, too late, too late. It's not wisdom. It's not realism. It's not maturity. It's fear. Fear. Wearing a suit and carrying a calendar like it's evidence in court. And if you're listening right now and you're nodding like, yeah, Trevor, you don't get it. I'm already behind. Good. That means you're exactly the kind of man who needs to hear this. It's too late is a lie men tell themselves when they'd rather suffer in a familiar hell than risk stepping into an unknown life. Because the unknown is scary. The unknown means you might fail publicly. You might look stupid. You might lose people. You might lose the identity you built out of being stable, responsible, predictable. And men love predictable, even when predictable is killing them. So you pick the safe cage. Then you call it being a man. Let's talk about money. Because money is the leash most men don't even feel anymore. You think you chase money because you want comfort. Because you want security. Because you want to provide. No, Most of you chase money because you're terrified of being disposable. You don't want to be the guy people stop respecting. You don't want to be the guy who can't pay. You don't want to be the guy who gets that look, the look that says, "What do you even do here?" So you work, you grind, you sacrifice sleep, health, joy, anything. And then you wake up one day and realize you built a life where you're paid to be absent. Paid to miss dinners. Paid to miss birthdays. Paid to miss your own thoughts. Paid to become a tired machine. And you tell yourself it's noble. Sometimes it is. Sometimes providing is love. But here's the line you need to learn. Providing is not love if it's the only reason people tolerate you. That's a brutal sentence, I know, but it's true. Because some men don't have relationships, they have customers. People treat them well when they're producing, and treat them like a problem when they're not. And you, good man, you accept it because you were raised on another lie. If I just do more, they'll finally appreciate me. No, they won't. They'll just increase the price. You give more time, they want more time. You give more money, they want more money. You give more patience, they want more patience. And the moment you say, "I can't," they look at you like you broke the deal. You didn't break the deal. You just stopped being exploited. Now here's where too late shows up again. You look at your age and think, "I can't change now. I've already built this. I've already committed." You're treating your own life like a contract you can't renegotiate. But life renegotiates you every day. It renegotiates your body, your health, your energy, your relationships. The only one refusing to renegotiate is you. Because you're afraid that if you admit you want more, you'll have to do something about it. And doing something about it means accepting loss. Here's the secret. All real change is loss. You lose comfort. You lose old versions of yourself. You lose people who only liked you when you were convenient. And you know what men hate more than pain? They hate looking like the bad guy. So they stay in broken situations because leaving would make them selfish. They stay in dead marriages because divorce would make them a failure. They stay in jobs they hate because quitting would make them unstable. You're not protecting your family. You're protecting your image. That's why good men fail. Not because they're weak, because their identity is built on being approved. Let's talk about trust and loyalty. Because trust is where men lose years of their lives like coins falling out of a hole in their pocket. You trust people because you want to believe the world has rules. You want to believe that if you are fair, others will be fair. If you are loyal, others will be loyal. But loyalty is not a magic spell. Loyalty is a gamble, and the odds are not in your favor if you don't have standards. A lot of you treat loyalty like a religion. You stay loyal to friends who don't show up. Loyal to partners who don't respect you. Loyal to family members who treat you like an obligation. You call it honor. It's not honor. It's fear of being alone. You'd rather be mistreated than be alone with your own thoughts. Because your thoughts, they scare you. Your thoughts tell you the truth. You keep dodging, you're not living the life you want, so you stay busy. You stay useful. You stay needed. And you call it love. But it's not love. It's bargaining. And bargains always feel like too late because once you've invested enough, you feel trapped. You've heard of sunk cost? Yeah? It's not just money. It's years. It's identity. It's your pride. You don't want to admit you spent 10 years in the wrong direction. So you keep going. That's the tragedy of the good man. He mistakes endurance for strength. Let me tell you what strength actually is. Strength is telling the truth before you're forced to. Most men only tell the truth when they're caught, when the body breaks, when the marriage collapses, when the job fires them, when the bank says no, when the doctor looks at them with that face. That's when they finally say, "I'm not okay." Don't be that guy. Tell the truth early. Tell it when it's still fixable. Tell it when you still have options. Now, I'm not saying you need to blow up your whole life tonight. I'm not telling you to quit your job tomorrow or walk into your kitchen and start a war just to prove you're awake. That's not strength. That's a tantrum. A tantrum is what weak men do when they finally snap. A disciplined man changes quietly and consistently. He stops negotiating with his own dignity. So here's the real question behind too late. What are you afraid will happen if you actually try? Because too late isn't about time. It's about the risk of humiliation. It's about the fear that you'll try and you'll still fail. And if you still fail, then what? Then you'd have to face the one thing you've been avoiding. That you're responsible for your life. And responsibility is terrifying because it kills excuses. But you know what's more terrifying? Waking up at 60 and realizing you spent your whole life avoiding responsibility and calling it stability. You want a hard truth that might save you? It's not too late. It's just going to cost you. It'll cost you comfort. It'll cost you certain people. It'll cost you the old story you tell yourself about who you are. But the alternative costs more. The alternative costs your soul slowly. So here's your assignment. Yeah, I'm giving you homework. Deal with it. Pick one thing you've been calling too late. Just one. Career, marriage, health, a dream, a skill, a conversation you've avoided for years, and ask yourself one brutal question. If it's too late, then what exactly am I waiting for? Because if you're waiting for the perfect moment, you're waiting for a fantasy. The perfect moment is a lie told by men who want permission to stay stuck. And you don't need permission. You need a spine. Next part, I'm going to talk about what happens when men don't change. The two endings, rage or numbness. The slow death of a man who stays good until he becomes invisible. And I'm going to tell you how to stop being invisible without becoming a monster. All right? So what happens when a man doesn't change? He doesn't just stay the same. He decays slowly, quietly, respectably. And that decay usually ends in one of two places, rage or numbness. Most men think rage is the dangerous one. They're wrong. Rage is loud. Rage is obvious. People notice rage. They react to it. They fear it. They intervene. Numbness? Numbness is invisible. Numbness is the clean, silent death of a man who's still walking around, still working, still smiling at the right jokes while his inner world goes dark. You want to know the first sign of numbness? You stop caring about things that used to matter. You don't get excited. You don't get furious. You just shrug. You start saying whatever a lot. You start making cynical jokes like that's a personality. You start eating and drinking for sensation because your life doesn't give you any. And the world loves numb men because numb men are easy. They don't argue. They don't demand. They don't leave. They don't challenge the room. They just pay. They just provide. They just exist. That's why broken dreams are so dangerous. A broken dream doesn't always make you cry. Sometimes it makes you quiet, and the quieter you get, the more people assume you're fine. You're not fine. You're disappearing. Now, rage is what happens when numbness can't hold anymore. Rage is when you've swallowed your truth for so long that it starts burning through your chest like acid. Rage is when you've been cornered, humiliated, ignored, pressured, and you kept telling yourself, be calm, be mature, be good. Then one day, someone says one small thing. Something stupid like, why are you acting like this? And that's it. The dam breaks. You explode. Not because of that sentence, but because of everything you didn't say for years. That's why good men scare people when they finally snap. Because they don't snap at 10%. They snap at 120%. They were silent for so long that when they speak, it sounds like violence even if they're just telling the truth. And then everyone looks at them like they're the villain. That's another way good men lose. They wait so long to be honest that honesty comes out ugly. Now let's talk about the place where most of this happens. Marriage. Marriage is where dreams go to get negotiated down in the chores. And I'm not saying marriage is evil. I'm saying it's the most common place a man trades his future for stability without realizing he's doing it. When you first meet someone, you're alive. You're present. You're trying. You're hungry for each other. Then real life shows up with bills and schedules and exhaustion, and you start making deals. You stop saying what you want. You start saying what's reasonable. You stop asking for respect. You start asking for peace. You stop making love. You start keeping things okay. And the good man thinks, if I just keep providing, if I just keep being reliable, she'll feel safe and everything will get better. Sometimes it does. Sometimes a good woman will appreciate a good man. But sometimes she won't. Sometimes she won't because you trained her not to. You trained her that you'll always be there, always forgiving, always stable, always available. So she stops trying, not always out of cruelty, sometimes out of comfort, sometimes out of entitlement, sometimes because she has her own broken dream and she's taking it out on you. And you, good man, you respond by trying harder. You become a machine. You become a solution. You become a provider, a fixer, a therapist, a punching bag, a babysitter, a wallet, whatever the day requires. And the moment you ask, what about me, you feel guilty. That guilt is the leash. That's the exact moment where the good man becomes a failed man, because he starts believing he doesn't deserve anything beyond being useful. Now let's talk about trust again, because trust is what keeps men stuck in broken situations. You trust that if you stay loyal, things will improve. You trust that your sacrifices will be recognized. You trust that love is measured by endurance. No, love is measured by respect, and respect is measured by what happens when you say no. If you say no and your partner punishes you, silent treatment, insults, manipulation, guilt trips, then you're not in love. You're in control. And control destroys dreams faster than anything, because control teaches you to shrink. A controlled man learns to make his desires smaller. He learns to want less. He learns to stop dreaming because dreaming hurts. That's the broken dream. Not the dream that fails, but the dream you stop having. Now, I can hear you already. Trevor, what am I supposed to do? Just leave? Just burn it all down? Relax. I'm not your motivational coach. I'm not telling you to make a dramatic exit like you're in a movie. I'm telling you to stop lying. Start with the smallest truth you've been avoiding. Here's a simple one most men can't say, I'm not happy. Say it without blaming. Say it without attacking. Say it like a fact. Because it is a fact. And if the person you're with can't handle that sentence, if they punish you for being honest, then you've learned something valuable. You've learned you're not allowed to be human in that relationship. And that's not love. That's a contract where your feelings are illegal. Now let's talk about what happens when a man is truly cornered. Cornered doesn't always mean broke. Sometimes you have money and you're still cornered. Cornered means you have no room to breathe, no room to speak. Cornered means every choice feels like losing. If you stay, you die slowly. If you leave, you lose everything you built. If you speak up, you become the bad guy. If you stay quiet, you betray yourself again. That's the corner, and in that corner, men become dangerous in two ways. Not dangerous like violence, dangerous like disruption. They self-destruct. They cheat to feel alive. They drink to feel quiet. They gamble to feel control. They work themselves to death to avoid the house. They pick fights over nothing because conflict is easier than confession. And the worst part? They blame the world. They say, this is what life did to me. No, life didn't do it. You did it by staying silent, by negotiating away your dream piece by piece until you didn't recognize yourself. So here's the fork again, rage or numbness. If you don't want either, you need a third option, discipline. Discipline is boring. That's why it works. Discipline is choosing the hard truth every day instead of waiting for a dramatic breaking point. Discipline is boundaries without screaming, standards without speeches, actions without begging for applause. And in the next part, I'm going to give you the Trevor version of a blueprint, simple, brutal, and practical. How to stop being invisible. How to rebuild a broken dream without becoming bitter. How to stay a good man without losing. Because the goal isn't to become a monster. The goal is to become a man people can't casually disrespect. All right, you made it this far. That already puts you ahead of most men, because most men don't want truth. They want noise. They want something to distract them until they fall asleep. They want a soft voice telling them they're enough while their life quietly rots. I'm not that voice. I'm the voice that says you're responsible, not guilty. Responsible. There's a difference. Guilt is useless. Responsibility is power. So here's the blueprint, simple, brutal, practical. No poetry, no magic. Just a way out for men who feel like they failed and don't want to die numb. Step 1. Name the dream you broke. Out loud. Not in your head. Not someday. Not I guess I used to want. Out loud. Because the moment you name it, you stop pretending it doesn't exist. Most men don't fail because they don't have talent. They fail because they can't admit what they actually want. They'll say they want stability when they really want freedom. They'll say they want peace when they really want respect. They'll say they want a simple life when they really want a life that feels alive. So say it. I wanted to build something. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to start a business. I wanted to be loved without begging for it. And then say the second part. That hurts. I stopped because I was afraid. That's honesty. And honesty is where your life begins again. Step 2. Stop confusing comfort with safety. Comfort is a warm bed in a burning house. Safety is the ability to tell the truth without losing yourself. A lot of you are comfortable. You have routines, predictable income, a relationship that looks fine in photos, a life that doesn't shock anyone. But you're not safe because you can't speak, you can't breathe, you can't be real. And if you can't be real, you're not safe, you're just quiet. So ask yourself this: where am I comfortable but not safe? Your job? Your marriage? Your friend group? Your family? Your own head? Step 3. Create standards, not wishes. Most men make wishes. I wish she respected me. I wish my boss appreciated me. I wish my friends reached out. I wish I had time. Wishes are for children. Standards are for men. A standard says, if this happens, I do this. Not I hope. Not maybe. Not I'll try. If my partner insults me, I end the conversation and leave the room. If my friend only calls when he needs something, I stop answering. If my job is killing my health, I set a timeline and I move. Standards give your life structure. And structure is what saves men from chaos. Because chaos is seductive. Chaos feels like being alive until it destroys you. Step 4. Replace rage with action. Replace numbness with meaning. Rage needs direction. Numbness needs purpose. If you're angry, good. Anger is energy. But energy without direction becomes self-destruction. So give it a job. Work out. Build a skill. Learn something. Clean your finances. Fix your sleep. Have the conversation you've avoided. Make a plan and follow it like your life depends on it. Because it does. And if you're numb, don't chase pleasure like a desperate man. Pleasure is a cheap drug. It fades fast. Chase meaning. Meaning is slower, harder, but it lasts. Meaning is doing something that makes you respect yourself again. Not the world, not your wife, not your friends, you. Step 5, learn to disappoint people without collapsing. This one is the real test, because good men are addicted to approval. You want to be liked, you want to be seen as fair, you want to be the reasonable one, and that's exactly why you keep losing. A man who can't disappoint people can't lead his own life. So practice disappointing. Say no to something small. Don't explain it. Don't apologize for it. Just say no. And when the guilt hits, because it will, don't treat guilt like a sign you did something wrong. Treat it like withdrawal. You're detoxing from people-pleasing. Step 6. Stop asking permission. Start making decisions. You're not stuck because you lack options. You're stuck because you keep waiting for approval to choose. No one is going to clap when you save your own life. Most people will hate it because the moment you change, their access to you changes. They'll call you selfish, cold, different, good, Different is the point. You didn't come here to be the same exhausted man forever. Now this is important. Being solid doesn't mean becoming cruel. Cruel men are weak men in costume. Cruelty is just pain looking for a target. Solid men don't need targets. Solid men have standards, discipline, control. They don't scream. They don't beg. They don't threaten. They act. And action is terrifying to people who are used to you being predictable. So yes, you might lose people. But if a relationship only survives while you're silent and small, it deserves to die. Now, let's put the final nail in the coffin of failed men. A failed man isn't a man who tried and lost. A failed man is a man who stopped trying because he didn't want to feel shame. Shame is the real enemy. Shame convinces you you're finished, that you're too old, too far behind, too broken. No, you're not broken. You're undisciplined and afraid. And that's fixable. Not with motivation, with decisions. One decision at a time. Tonight, not Monday, not next month. Tonight. Because here's the part you don't want to face. Broken dreams don't heal with time. They rot with time. And rot turns into bitterness. Bitterness turns into numbness. And numbness turns into a man who's technically alive and spiritually dead. I've seen that man. He's everywhere. He's at the grocery store staring at nothing. He's at the family dinner smiling without meaning it. He's on the couch scrolling his life away. He's in the mirror. Don't become him. Now, I'm gonna leave you with one question. Real question. No cute quotes. No inspirational garbage. What's the dream you're still mourning? And what are you doing every day to avoid admitting it? Write it in the comments. And don't make it poetic. Don't make it impressive. Make it true. Because if you can tell the truth publicly, you can tell it privately. And if you can tell it privately, you can act on it. That's how men stop failing. Not by becoming perfect. By becoming honest and disciplined. And finally choosing their own life. Hey, you men who think you're fine, but when night comes, you can't sleep. Now you know why. I'm Trevor Phillips. Keep driving.